Okay, hello book lovers. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in for another video. Today, we're talking about the many lives of Hwang Sok-yong. So what if your life was so dramatic that it could be a novel? Hwang Sok-yong has been a soldier, a dissident, an exile, a political prisoner, and one of Korea's greatest living writers. His books don't just tell stories, they reflect the real, often brutal history of Korea. Today, we are diving into his extraordinary life and the novels that made him a literary legend. So, more than any other living Korean writer, Hwang Sok-yong's turbulent life reflects the dramatic historical developments and chaotic changes that have swept across the Korean peninsula, redefining both the North and South during the last 70 years or so. An outspoken critic of the South Korean political establishment and a prominent dissident, he's also one of Korea's most politically engaged writers. Hwang was born the fifth of five siblings in 1943 in Manchuria. Like many families displaced by war, the Hwang family was poor and they lived an itinerant lifestyle fraught with the challenges of poverty. After the liberation of Korea, they first moved to Hwanghae province, now located in North Korea, before moving to Seoul, and then after the outbreak of the Korean War in 1950 to Daegu. During the Korean War, the family were forced to move regularly, with the young Hwang frequently transferring from one school to another. Nevertheless, his talent for writing manifested during this period, and in 1954, he won the first prize in the National Children's Writing Contest. It was also the year he ran away from home for the first time. His passion for writing and his desire to travel were linked from a young age. Now, despite winning several other writing competitions, he was ultimately expelled from school and spent some time roaming around the southern regions of South Korea. He made his literary debut in 1962 with a short story called Around Ipsok, inspired by a rock climbing group he was a member of. He entered Songsil University in 1964 and would eventually graduate with a degree in philosophy. As a student, he was arrested and jailed for joining a protest against the Korea Japan conference. Whilst in prison, he met a day laborer from a nearby construction site who helped Hwang get his first construction job after leaving prison. Around this time, he traveled the country working at factories and construction sites and saw what life was like for those living at the very bottom of the economic ladder. He drew on these experiences to write what is now considered by many to be one of the defining Korean stories of the period, The Road to Sampo. In The Road to Sampo, day laborers Yongdal and Chong meet on the road, one having been chased out of town for sleeping with another man's wife, and the other just recently released from prison. In the middle of a brutal winter, the two men travel the country looking for work. Along the way, they are tasked with finding Pekwa, a poor bar girl who has run away from an exploitative bar owner. When they find her, instead of taking her back, the three outcasts band together and head for Chong's hometown. Their journey and the difficulties they experience on the way are representative of the vast changes South Korea was going through at the time. As the country was industrializing, farming communities fragmented and secure unemployment was often difficult to come by. Former farm workers became transient day laborers, traveling the country searching for employment. The Sampo of the title symbolizes an idealized past that can't be returned to and an unstable future which offers little security. Frequently beautiful in its depiction of this transient life, it is one of the first instances of Hwang's characters being beaten down by an uncaring society and the relentless march of progress. After several years of wandering, Hwang joined the Marine Corps in 1966 and was dispatched to fight in the Vietnam War as part of the Blue Dragon Unit. After his discharge from the army in 1969, he returned to South Korea and started writing in earnest. entering a period of creative fertility that continues to this day. This phase of his career began in 1970 with the publication of a short story called The Tower, based on his experiences in the Vietnam War. A searing critique of American imperialism, it was published in the Choson Ilbo newspaper and brought him to the attention of the wider reading public. His most sustained treatment of the Vietnam War, however, can be found in the novel The Shadow of Arms, which draws on his experiences as one of the 300,000 Korean soldiers sent to fight alongside American troops in Vietnam. A Shadow of Arms is both an atypical war novel and an unconventional exploration of Korea's involvement in that conflict. There's very little combat in this almost 600-page novel set entirely in a war zone. Instead, the focus is on the black market dealings that occur in Da Nang as a result of the conflict. The thriving black market being the dark economic shadow cast by the war, and the intersecting lives of several Korean, American, and Vietnamese characters who seek to profit from them. Hwang creates an intricate, richly detailed world of shady backstreet deals and dubious characters trying to exploit one another, and reveals the cutthroat economic consequences of war in a foreign land. In the decade after he was discharged from the army, Hwang would become recognized as one of the most important writers of his generation for stories and novels dealing with the lives of day laborers, the marginalized, and all those left behind by a rapidly industrializing South Korea. It was also during this time that he became an increasingly outspoken political dissident and an activist fighting for democracy and reunification. The 1980s would see him leave Korea and travel to Germany, Japan, and America, trying to promote interest in the idea of Korean reunification. In 1989, he shocked South Korea when he violated the national security law by traveling to North Korea, where he would meet Kim Il-sung. Due to this transgression, he was unable to return home and spent several years living in exile, traveling around America and Germany, where he saw the fall of the Berlin Wall. Hwang eventually returned to South Korea in 1993 and received a 7-year prison sentence for illegally visiting North Korea. He spent 5 years in prison before he was granted amnesty in 1998. His experiences in North Korea would form the basis for what is perhaps his most controversial novel, The Guest. The Guest is a challenging, provocative, and disturbing novel, as well as being an act of literary exorcism that reveals the truth behind a much misunderstood period of Korean history. The novel tells the story of Ru Hyosop, a Korean minister who, after living for most of his adult life in America, is given the opportunity to return to his hometown in North Korea for a visit. Shortly before he departs, his elder brother Johan, also a minister, dies. As Yosop travels to their ancestral hometown, he is accompanied by the ghost of his brother, as well as his brother's victims. Over the course of the novel, these ghosts reveal the violent history of Korean on Korean violence and recrimination that took place in the lead up to and during the Korean War. During conflicts between Christians and communists, Johann is revealed to have butchered entire families and various innocents in the name of his faith. The guest of the title refers not only to both Christianity and Marxism, but also to smallpox, a foreign disease that spread across the country. Shamans would be called on to exorcise the disease in a ceremony lasting 12 rounds. Hwang structures his novel in 12 chapters to mirror the shaman's ceremony in an attempt to exorcise the painful memories and submerged truths embedded in Korean history. After his release from prison, Hwang has continued to write producing many of his most celebrated works. Truly a world-class writer, Hwang Sok-yong is fully deserving of his place alongside the leading international writers working today. He is unafraid to delve into the most disturbing aspects of the profound social changes that are such a key part of modern Korean history. At the same time, many of his novels have an international dimension in which he contextualizes Korean experiences alongside significant world events. One of his most recently translated novels, Princess Bari, connects the North Korean refugee experience with human trafficking in China, terrorist attacks in London, and the lives of illegal immigrants the world over. It's a remarkable work by a writer fully engaged with the modern world. Alongside one of his other recently translated novels, Familiar Things, it reveals a writer working at the very peak of his powers and capable of finding humanity in the darkest recesses of the human experience. So, what do you think? Have you read any of Hwang Sok-yong's books? Do you think literature can help us understand history in a different way? So, please leave a comment. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click the like button to support the channel, subscribe for more deep dives into Korean literature, and hit the notification bell so you'll never miss a new video. Thanks for watching, as always, and I'll see you in the next video.